The woman's scream pierced the summer air as 80 pounds of German Shepherd launched through the air, transforming a trespassing Karen into something far more desperate. What started as an illegal pool party was about to become a matter of life and death, and the twist nobody saw coming would change everything about who the real victim was. The first thing Maya Rodriguez noticed when she pulled into her driveway at 2:47 p.m. was the sound of splashing. Thing that made her blood pressure spike was the unmistakable sound of children's laughter echoing from her backyard. Her backyard, her pool. Maya sat in her Honda Civic for a moment, gripping the steering wheel until her knuckles went white. The pool had been her dream sanctuary where she could decompress after watching kids fight for their lives in the ICU. She'd saved for 3 years to have it installed, working holidays and weekends, living on ramen and determination, and now someone was treating it like a public swimming facility. She grabbed her phone and stepped out of the car, the desert heat hitting her like a physical wall. Through the wooden slats of her privacy fence, she could see movement, hear voices, multiple voices. Her German Shepherd, Kaiser, was barking. From inside the house, a deep, territorial sound that meant business. Maya walked to her front door, but instead of going inside, she circled around to the side gate. What she saw made her stomach drop. A woman in her 40s with bleached blonde hair and a leopard print bikini was lounging on Maya's pool float, the expensive one, shaped like a flamingo that had been a birthday gift from her sister. 3 children, none older than 10, were cannonballing into the deep end. A man who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else sat in one of Maya's patio chairs, scrolling through his phone. Pool toys were scattered across the deck. Someone had dragged out her outdoor furniture and rearranged it. An open cooler sat on her glass table, sweating in the heat. "Excuse me," Maya called out, her voice carrying across the water. The woman on the float turned, her face transitioning from surprise to annoyance in record time. "Oh, you must be the neighbor. Look, we're not being that loud. Kids need to swim. It's summer," Maya blinked. The woman Karen Maya decided because she had that particular haircut and expression sat up straighter on the float. "Your pool? That's impossible. Sarah told me this was a rental property and the owners were out of town. Sarah, my sister-in-law, she comes to this neighborhood all the time. She said the house was empty." Karen's voice was getting defensive. Taking on that particular tone Maya recognized from dealing with difficult parents at the hospital. Maya pulled out her phone and started recording. "The only miscommunication is you thinking you can break into someone's backyard and use their pool. I need you to get out. Now, break in." The gate was unlocked. "No, it wasn't. I locked it this morning before I left for work." Karen's husband finally looked up from his phone. "Honey, maybe we should." "Don't honey me, Derek. This woman is being completely unreasonable. We're not hurting anything. The kids are just swimming." One of the children, a boy, about 8, chose that moment to grab Maya's pool net and use it as a jousting stick, whacking his sister with it. The net snapped in half. "That's it," Maya said, moving toward the pool. "Everyone out now. This is private property and you're trespassing. Either you leave voluntarily or I call the police." Karen's face flushed red. "You're going to call the police?" In it, Maya's voice was steady, but inside she was shaking with rage. The kind who doesn't appreciate strangers breaking into her sanctuary. Breaking in? God, you're dramatic. We'll pay for the stupid pool net. It's not about the net. It's about respect. Karen stood up on the float, wobbling slightly. "You know what? You're right. This is about respect. And you clearly don't have any for families with children. These kids have been cooped up all summer because we can't afford. Not my problem," Maya cut her off. "Your financial situation doesn't give you the right to steal from me." "Steal? We're swimming, not stealing your TV. My safety, my sense of security in my own home." The children had stopped playing and were watching the adults with wide eyes. Maya felt a pang of guilt. They were just kids after all, but the principle remained. "Look," Derek said, finally standing up. "This is getting out of hand. Kids, let's go." "No," Kieran said sharply. "We're not leaving because some uptight nurse thinks she owns the world." Maya's eyebrows shot up. "How do you know I'm a nurse?" Karen's face went pale. Sarah mentioned. The neighbors talked about ... What neighbors? Who exactly is Sarah, And how long have you been watching my house? Maya's mind was racing. This wasn't a simple mistake. This was planned. These people had been watching her, learning her schedule, waiting for the right moment. We're not going anywhere, Karen snapped. I don't care if she is a nurse. She's being completely unreasonable. Kids, get back in the pool. She'd left the house unlocked when she'd circled around to the back gate. Kaiser, stay, she called out, but she knew it was too late. Her dog had heard the commotion, sensed the threat to his territory and his human. He was coming. What's that noise? Karen asked, still standing on the float. Maya turned toward the house just as 80 pounds of German Shepherd came barreling around the corner. His eyes locked on the strangers in his yard, back to show teeth that could crack bone. Oh shit, Derek whispered. Kaiser didn't hesitate. He launched himself through the air, aiming directly for the pool, directly for Karen. Cold Karen wasn't just scared. She was swaying, her face pale, her hand clutched to her chest. And Maya, the pediatric nurse who'd spent 12 years saving lives, realized that her quest for justice was about to become something much more complicated. Kaiser hit the water with a splash that sent waves cascading over the pool deck. Karen screamed again, this time a sound of pure terror as she lost her balance and tumbled backward off the float. The impact sent her under the surface, but she came up sputtering, her face gray with pain. Get him away from me! She shrieked, thrashing in the water as Kaiser swam toward her with powerful strokes. Maya's training kicked in instantly. Whatever Karen had done, whatever lies she'd told, the woman was in medical distress. Kaiser, out of the pool. The German Shepherd immediately changed direction, swimming toward the shallow end where Maya was already kicking off her shoes. She dove in fully clothed, the chlorinated water shocking her system as she swam toward Karen. Ma'am, I need you to calm down, Maya said, reaching for Karen's arm. Try to float on your back. Don't touch me. Karen gasped, but her voice was weaker now. Your dog, he attacked me, ... double quotes, he didn't attack you. He was protecting his territory. Maya got behind Karen, supporting her in the water. But right now, that doesn't matter. Are you having chest pain? Karen's eyes darted away. I'm fine, just get me out of here. Maya felt Karen's pulse at her wrist rapid and irregular. Her skin was clammy, despite the desert heat. Derek, call 911. Now what? No, Karen tried to pull away from Maya's grip. I don't need an ambulance. I just need to get away from that monster, kids. Get out of the pool, Maya commanded. The first time since she'd arrived, the children obeyed instantly, climbing out and clustering around Derek, who was staring at his phone like it might bite him. Derek, I said, call 911. I can't, he stammered. What do you mean you can't? Your wife is having a cardiac event. She's not my wife, Derek said quietly, and if we call 911, they'll ask questions about why we're here, about ... other things. Maya felt the pieces clicking together in her mind as she helped Karen to the shallow end. What other things? Karen was leaning heavily against the pool wall now, her breathing shallow. Derek, shut up. She's on parole, Derek blurted out, breaking and entering. If the cops come ... Jesus Christ, Maya muttered. So this wasn't a mistake. You targeted my house specifically. We were just supposed to swim, one of the children said, a girl about 9 with Karen's blonde hair. Mom said the lady who lives here works at the hospital and wouldn't be home until late. Your mom? Maya looked between the girl and Karen. I thought Derek said he's not her father, Karen gasped. He's my boyfriend. These are my kids from before. The picture was becoming clearer and uglier by the minute. Maya helped Karen sit on the pool steps, keeping her head above water. How long have you been watching my house? 3 weeks, Karen admitted, her voice barely audible. Saramai, parole officer she mentioned you worked at Phoenix Children's, said you were never home during the day. Maya's blood ran cold. Your parole officer told you about my schedule. Not exactly. She was just making conversation. About the neighborhood. About how hard healthcare workers work. Karen's head lolled back against the pool, coping. The kids wanted to swim so bad, and you have all this, and we have nothing. So you decided to steal it. Borrow it, Karen corrected weakly. We were going to be gone before you got home. No harm done. Maya wanted to scream. She wanted to let Karen figure out her own medical emergency while she called the police, but she couldn't. Her oath as a nurse, her basic humanity, wouldn't let her abandon someone in crisis, no matter what they'd done. "Derek, I need you to listen to me very carefully," she said, her voice taking on the authoritative tone she used in the ICU city. "I don't care about your legal problems right now. This woman needs medical attention. If you don't call 911, she could die. But the parole will be the least of your problems if she has a heart attack in my pool." Maya checked Karen's pulse again. Still irregular, but stronger. "Kids, I need you to go inside the house through the sliding door. There are towels in the hall closet. Bring them out here." The children looked at Derek, who nodded reluctantly. As they ran toward the house, Maya heard Kaiser barking from inside. He'd been shut in when she'd gone to work that morning. "You're going to help her?" Derek asked, disbelief in his voice. "I'm a nurse. It's what I do." Maya looked at him steadily. "But after she's stable, we're going to have a very different conversation." Karen's eyes fluttered open. "Why? Why? What? Why are you helping me? I broke into your house. I brought my kids into your pool. I lied to you." Maya was quiet for a moment, treading water next to Karen. "Because you're a human being. Because your kids are watching. Because this is who I am, even when I don't want to be." "I'm sorry," Karen whispered. "I'm so sorry. I just ... I wanted to give them something normal, something fun. I've been clean for 8 months, and I got a job at the grocery store, but it's not enough. It's never enough. Being broke doesn't give you the right to steal. I know that. But when you're desperate, when your kids are asking why, they can't have what other kids have, ... Karen's voice broke. "I made a terrible choice." The children came back with the towels, their faces solemn. Maya noticed they were good kids, polite, obedient, scared. They'd been through this before, she realized. The chaos, the aftermath of their mother's poor decisions. "Derek," Maya said again. 911 now. This time he dialed while they waited. For the paramedics, Maya kept Karen stable in the shallow end. The chest pain was subsiding, but her heart rate was still erratic. Stress-induced, most likely, but it could be more serious. "What's going to happen to us?" the little girl asked. Maya looked at the 3 children, wet, scared, caught in the middle of their mother's mistakes. "I don't know, sweetheart, but right now we're going to take care of your mom." When the sirens arrived, Maya was ready with Karen's vitals. Her symptoms, her medical history, as far as she knew it. The paramedics were efficient, professional. They didn't ask questions about why Karen was in someone else's pool, but the police would. Maya could see the patrol car pulling up behind the ambulance. "Please," Karen said, as the paramedics loaded her onto a stretcher. "Please don't let them take my kids. They're all I have." Maya looked at the children, then at Derek, then at the officers walking toward her backyard. She thought about justice, about consequences, about the violation of her privacy and security. Then she thought about 3 kids watching their mother get arrested while she was having a medical emergency. "Officer," she said, as the first policeman approached, "I'm Maya Rodriguez. This is my property. We got a call about a possible break-in." Maya glanced at Karen, who was being wheeled toward the ambulance. Their eyes met for a moment, a question, a plea, a moment of understanding between 2 women who'd both made choices they couldn't take back. Maya said slowly, "I think there's been a misunderstanding." Officer Martinez looked at Maya with the practiced skepticism of someone who'd heard every excuse in the book. "What kind of misunderstanding, ma'am?" Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. Behind her, she could hear the ambulance doors slamming shut, the engine starting. Karen was gone, but her 3 children stood frozen on the pool deck, watching their world potentially collapse. I gave them permission to use the pool," Maya heard herself say. "I forgot I'd told them they could. Come by today." Derek's mouth fell open. The oldest child, a boy, maybe 10, stared at Maya like she'd sprouted wings. "You gave them permission?" Officer Martinez's eyebrows rose. "So this isn't a break-in?" "No, sir. Just a miscommunication about timing. I came home early from work and forgot about our arrangement." The officer looked around the yardette, the broken pool net, the scattered toys, the open cooler, and the medical emergency. Heat exhaustion, maybe anxiety. She's been under a lot of stress lately. Maya could feel Derek's eyes boring into her, but she kept her focus on the officer. Every instinct screamed at her to tell the truth, to let justice run its course. Karen had violated her home, her sanctuary, her sense of safety. She deserved whatever consequences came. But those 3 kids didn't deserve to watch their mother get arrested while she was being rushed to the hospital. "I'll need to see some ID," Officer Martinez said to Derek. Derek fumbled for his wallet, his hands shaking. Maya watched him hand over his license, knowing it would show his address somewhere that definitely wasn't here. "Mr. Patterson, you live on Camelback Road. That's 15 miles from here." "Yes, sir. We came to visit Maya, for the kids to swim." The officer turned back to Maya. "And your name is Maya Rodriguez. I live here. Can I see your ID?" As well, Maya handed over her driver's license, praying the officer wouldn't dig deeper. But Martinez was thorough. He looked at the license, then at Maya, then at the house. "Ms. Rodriguez, I need to ask you directly. Did you give these people permission to be in your backyard?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Maya looked at the children, the little girl with tears streaming down her face, the boy trying to be brave, the youngest clutching a soggy pool noodle. She thought about Karen's words. "I wanted to give them something normal." "Yes," she said firmly, "I did." Officer Martinez studied her for a long moment. "Ma'am, I've been doing this for 12 years. I can usually tell when someone's lying. Are you sure you want to stick with that story?" Maya's throat felt like sandpaper. "I'm sure. Because if you're covering for someone out of misplaced sympathy, you could be making a big mistake. Breaking and entering is a serious crime." "I understand that, officer, but there's been no crime here." Martinez looked at Derek, who was sweating profusely, despite the shade. "Mr. Patterson, do you want to add anything to this?" Derek opened his mouth, then closed it. Maya could see him calculating the truth about Karen's parole violation. The kids, the consequences? "No, sir. Just like she said, we came to swim." The officer wasn't buying it. Maya could see it in his eyes, the way he kept looking around the yard, noting details. He pulled out his radio. Martinez to dispatch. "Can you run a check on a Derek Patterson DOB?" He rattled off Derek's information from the license. Maya's stomach dropped. If Derek had priors, if Karen's parole officer had flagged anything, if there was any kind of bolo alert, the radio crackled back with Derek's information. "Clean record, no warrants." Maya exhaled slowly. "What about the woman who went to the hospital?" Martinez asked. "What's her name?" "Karen Patterson," Derek said quickly. My wife." Another lie. Maya wondered how many more they'd have to tell before this was over. "I'll need her full name and date of birth." Derek looked panicked. Maya realized he probably didn't know Karen's birthday, her middle name, her real last name. They'd been caught in their lie. "Karen Michelle Patterson," the little girl said suddenly. "She's born on Halloween, October 31st, 1984. Martinez wrote it down. "And you are Emma. That's my brother Jake, and my little brother Tyler. Are these your children, Mr. Patterson?" Derek looked at Maya desperately. She could see the whole story about to unravel. Karen wasn't his wife. The kids weren't his. If the officer dug deeper, they're mine, Maya said impulsively. "I mean they're my my sister's kids. I'm watching them while she's going through a difficult time." It was the worst lie yet. Maya was obviously Hispanic, and the kids were clearly white with blonde hair. But Officer Martinez was looking at his notes, not at the obvious genetic impossibility. "Your sister is Karen Patterson. Yes, she's had some struggles. I've been helping out with the kids, and Mr. Patterson here is Karen's boyfriend. He helps with the kids sometimes." Maya was digging herself deeper with every word, but she couldn't stop. The children were watching her like she was their lifeline, and maybe she was. Martinez's radio crackled again. "Martinez, we've got a domestic dispute on 7th Street. Can you wrap up what you're doing?" "Copy that." He looked at Maya one more time. "Ms. Rodriguez, are you absolutely certain you want to stick with your story? Because if I find out later that you lied to me—" "I understand, officer, but there's been no crime here." Martinez closed his notebook. "All right, but I want to be clear if we get called back here. If there are any more issues, I'm going to remember this conversation." "Understood." The officer walked away, but Maya knew he wasn't convinced. As soon as his patrol car disappeared around the corner, Derek turned to her. "Why?" he demanded. "Why did you lie for us?" Maya looked at the children who were still huddled together by the pool. "Because someone had to." "But she broke into your house. She violated your privacy. She made a terrible choice," Maya interrupted. "But these kids didn't make that choice. They're just kids who wanted to swim." Emma, the little girl, stepped forward. "Are you really going to take care of us?" Maya's heart broke. "What? Do you mean, sweetheart? While Mom's in the hospital, Derek has to work, and we don't have anywhere else to go." Maya looked at Derek, who was staring at his feet. "What about other family? Grandparents? Karen's parents are dead," Derek said quietly. "Mine won't. They don't approve of my relationship with someone who's been in prison." "Prison?" Maya's blood chilled. "I thought she was on parole for breaking and entering. That was the most recent charge. Before that, ... Derek shrugged. "Drug possession, theft. She's been trying to get clean, trying to be a better mom, but ... but she decided to break into my house instead. She was desperate. The kids have been asking about swimming. All summer, all their friends go to the community pool, but we can't afford the membership. She just wanted to give them something." Maya wanted to scream. She wanted to throw all of them out and change her locks and pretend this had never happened. But Emma was looking at her with such hope, such trust. "Where will you go tonight?" Maya asked. "I don't know," Derek admitted. "My apartment is barely big enough for me, and if Karen's in the hospital, ... Maya closed her eyes. She thought about her quiet house, her sanctuary, her carefully ordered life. She thought about the violation of her privacy, the broken trust, the lies she'd just told to protect strangers. Then she thought about 3 kids sleeping in a car, or worse. "You can stay here tonight," she said quietly. "Just tonight. Until we figure out what's happening with Karen." Derek stared at her. "Are you serious?" "I'm serious. But we need to establish some rules. And tomorrow we're going to have a very different conversation about what happens next." Emma ran to Maya and hugged her legs. Thank you so much." Maya looked down at the little girl, then at her brothers, then at Derek. She'd just invited the people who'd violated her home to stay in that same home. She was either the biggest fool in Arizona, or she was about to learn something important about who she really was. "Derek," she said, "we need to talk about Karen's parole officer, the one who told her about my schedule." Derek's face went pale. "What about her?" "Because if Sarah really is feeding information to parolees about potential targets, she's not just violating her professional ethics. She's committing a crime." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. And tomorrow, after we figure out what's happening with these kids, you're going to tell me everything you know about Sarah, because if she's setting up other people the way she set me up, she needs to be stopped." Derek nodded reluctantly. "Okay, but Maya, ... what you did today, lying to that cop. You could get in serious trouble." Maya looked around her backyard at the broken pool net, the scattered toys, the evidence of an invasion that had somehow become something else entirely. "I know," she said, "but sometimes doing the right thing means taking the wrong risk." What she didn't know was that Officer Martinez was already running a background check on Karen Patterson, and what he was about to discover would change everything. The call came at 6:47 a.m. Maya jolted awake to her phone buzzing on the nightstand. She'd barely slept, hyper-aware of the strangers in her house, Derek on the couch, the 3 kids in her guest room. Every creak of the house had her wondering if she'd made a catastrophic mistake. "Maya Rodriguez." The voice was crisp, professional. "Yes, this is Detective Sarah Chen with Phoenix PD. I need to speak with you about the incident at your home." Yesterday, Maya's blood turned to ice. "What incident?" "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to be straight with me. I told Officer Martinez yesterday, yes, I read his report. You claimed you gave Karen Patterson permission to use your pool. The problem is, Karen Patterson died at Phoenix General at 3:42 this morning." The phone slipped from Maya's hand, clattering to the floor. She scrambled to pick it up, her heart hammering against her ribs. "What?" "Massive coronary." The stress from yesterday, combined with her underlying health conditions and drug history, was too much for her system. Maya sank onto the edge of her bed, the room spinning. These things can change quickly. "Ma'am, I need to ask you again. Did you really give Karen Patterson permission to be in your backyard?" Through her bedroom door, Maya could hear sounds of the children waking up. Emma's voice asking Derek where their mom was. The innocence in that question cut through Maya like a blade. Detective I, because here's what I know about Karen Patterson. She was a repeat offender with a long history of breaking and entering. She was on parole for burglary, and according to her parole officer, she had no legal right to be anywhere. Near your property, Maya closed her eyes. Her parole officer, Sarah Martinez. Officer Martinez's sister, as it turns out, she called him last night very concerned about one of her parolees. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. Sarah Martinez hadn't accidentally revealed Maya's schedule to Karen. She'd done it deliberately. Knowing what Karen would do with the information, and now, with Karen dead, she was covering her tracks. Detective, I need to tell you something. I'm listening. Karen Patterson did break into my property. I lied to Officer Martinez to protect her children. But there's something bigger here. Her parole officer, Sarah Martinez, she's been feeding information to parolees about potential targets. That's a serious accusation, Ms. Rodriguez. I know it is, but Derek Karen's boyfriend, he can confirm it. Karen told me Sarah mentioned my work schedule, that I wouldn't be home during the day. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Ms. Rodriguez, I need you to listen very carefully. Derek Patterson was found dead in his apartment 2 hours ago. Apparent suicide. Left a note saying he couldn't live with the guilt of what happened yesterday. Maya's knees gave out. She sat hard on the bed, the phone sliding from her suddenly. Numb fingers. Derek was dead. Karen was dead. And 3 children were sleeping in her guest room, orphaned and alone. Ms. Rodriguez, are you there? Maya picked up the phone with shaking hands. Yes. I'm going to need you to come to the station for questioning, and I'm going to need you to bring those children. The children, they're witnesses. And with both, Karen and Derek dead, they're going to need to be placed in emergency custody. No, the word came out harder than Maya intended. No, you can't take them. Not today. Not like this. They'll be placed with emergency foster care until what? Until they get bounced from home to home? Until they're separated from each other? Maya was standing now, pacing her bedroom. Detective, these kids just lost their mother. They don't even know yet. You can't just rip them away from the only stability they have. What stability? You're a stranger to them. I'm the person who's been taking care of them. I'm the person who lied to protect them. I'm the person who's here. Maya could hear Emma's voice getting closer to her bedroom door. Maya, are you okay? Detective, I need to tell these children that their mother is dead. Can you give me that much? 2 hours to break their hearts gently before you shatter their world completely. Another pause. 2 hours. But Ms. Rodriguez, I want to be clear. In serious legal trouble, you lied to a police officer. You're harboring potential witnesses in a felony case. And if this thing with the parole officer is true, you're looking at being involved in a conspiracy investigation. I understand I'll be at your house at 9 a.m. Have the children ready. The line went dead. Maya stared at the phone, her mind racing. Karen was dead. Derek was dead, and somehow she was the only person standing between 3 traumatized children and a system that would separate them. A soft knock came at her door. Maya, can we come in? Maya opened the door to find all 3 children standing there, Rima holding Tyler's hand, Jake trying to look brave. Where's Derek? Emma asked. He wasn't on the couch when we got up. Maya looked at their faces. These kids who'd been through so much already. Come sit with me, she said, leading them to the bed. I need to tell you something very important. They arranged themselves around her, Emma and Tyler on either side, Jake sitting cross-legged at the foot of the bed. Maya thought about her own childhood, about the day a social worker came to tell her that her parents had been killed in a car accident, about how cold and clinical it had been, how alone she'd felt. Your mom got very sick yesterday, she began. The doctors at the hospital tried everything they could, but ... but she died, Jake said quietly. Yes, sweetheart, she died. Tyler, who was only 6, looked confused, but she was just sick. People don't die from being sick sometimes. They do, baby. Sometimes people's hearts just ... stop working. Emma started crying first, silent tears streaming down her face. Then Tyler, who didn't fully understand but knew something terrible had happened. Jake sat very still, his jaw clenched, trying to be the man of the family. "What about Derek?" Emma asked through her tears. This was the part Maya wasn't sure she could get through. Derek, ... Derek was very sad about your mom, so sad that he ... that he hurt himself. "He's dead too," Jake said. It wasn't a question. "Yes? So what happens to us?" Emma asked. Maya pulled them closer, feeling their small bodies shaking with grief. "I don't know yet, but I promise you I'm going to do everything I can to keep you safe, to keep you together." "We have to go to foster care?" Jake asked. "I don't know. Maybe, but if you do, I'm going to make sure they don't separate you. I'm going to make sure you stay together." "Can't we stay with you?" Tyler asked. Maya's heart broke. "I would love that, sweetheart. But it's not that simple. I'm not family. I'm just someone who cares about you." "You're the only person who cares about us now," Emma said. Maya looked at the clock, 7:15 a.m. In less than 2 hours, Detective Chen would be here to take these children away. She thought about the system she'd seen as underfunded, imperfect. She thought about siblings separated, about kids aging out without ever finding permanency. Then she thought about her quiet, ordered life, her sanctuary, her carefully constructed world that had been invaded yesterday by a desperate woman and her children. "Emma," she said suddenly, "do you remember what your mom's parole officer looked like, Sarah?" "Yeah, she was nice. She had dark hair and she always wore these really high heels." "Did she ever ask about me specifically? About where I worked? What my schedule was?" Emma nodded. "She asked Mom lots of questions about the neighborhood, about who lived where, when people were home. Mom thought she was just being friendly. But she wasn't being friendly, was she?" "No," Jake said. "She was setting Mom up, making sure Mom would get in trouble." Maya's mind was racing. If Sarah Martinez was feeding information to parolees, if she was setting up burglaries, then Karen wasn't just a criminal. She was a victim. And these children were victims too. "Kids," Maya said, "I need you to be very brave. In about an hour, a police detective is going to come here. She's going to want to talk to you about what happened yesterday, about your mom, about Derek. Are we in trouble? But the detective is going to want to take you to stay with other people while they figure out what to do with you." "We don't want to go with other people," Emma said. "We want to stay with you." Maya pulled them closer, breathing in the smell of chlorine that still clung to their hair from yesterday's swim. I know you do, and I'm going to try to make that happen. But I need you to tell the detective everything you know about Sarah, about the questions she asked, about the things she said to your mom." "Why?" "Because your mom didn't just break into my house. Someone helped her do it. Someone who was supposed to be helping her stay out of trouble, not get into more trouble." Maya looked at the clock again. 7:30 a.m. 90 minutes before Detective Chen arrived. 90 minutes to figure out how to save 3 children from a system that might destroy them. 90 minutes to turn from victim to advocate. 90 minutes to decide if she was ready to fight the biggest battle of her life. "Okay," she said, standing up. "Here's what we're going to do." Maya moved through her house like a woman possessed, gathering documents, making phone calls, building a case she wasn't sure she could win. The children sat at her kitchen table, eating cereal with a hollow-eyed numbness of fresh grief, while she transformed from nurse to advocate to warrior. "Emma," Maya said, setting her laptop on the table, "I need you to tell me every single thing you remember about Sarah Martinez. Every conversation, every question, every visit." "Why? Because I think Sarah was using your mom. I think she was setting up people to commit crimes so she could look good when she caught them." Jake looked up from his bowl. "That's illegal, isn't it? Very illegal. And if we can prove it, it might change everything about what happens to you 3. Maya's phone buzzed. A text from her supervisor at the hospital heard you called in sick. "Everything okay?" She typed back quickly. "Family emergency. Need today off, possibly tomorrow." It wasn't entirely a lie. These kids felt like family now, in a way that terrified and amazed her. "Sarah came to see us every 2 weeks, Emma said. She always asked Mom about the neighborhood. Who worked where? What cars people drove when houses looked empty. Did she ask about my house specifically? Yeah, she knew you were a nurse. She said nurses work long shifts and make good money, but are hardly ever home." Maya's stomach clenched. Sarah had been profiling her, turning her dedication to saving lives into a vulnerability to be exploited. What else? She told Mom that breaking into empty houses wasn't really that bad, that it was just property crime, and if nobody got hurt, the courts would go easy. She encouraged your mom to break in. Emma nodded. She said, if Mom could just get some extra money, maybe from selling stuff she found in houses, she could afford to move us to a better apartment. Maya's hands were shaking as she typed notes on her laptop. Sarah Martinez hadn't just been negligent, she'd been actively grooming parolees to commit crimes. Jake, do you remember anything else? She always had these manila folders with her, thick ones. And she took pictures of her apartment, said it was for her reports, but she seemed really interested in how poor we were. Pictures, yeah, like of our empty refrigerator, the broken air conditioner, our clothes. Mom thought it was weird, but Sarah said it was normal. Maya felt pieces clicking together. Sarah was documenting the desperation of her parolees, then using that desperation to manipulate them into committing crimes. But why? Her phone rang. Maya Rodriguez. Ms. Rodriguez. This is Janet Wilkins from Child Protective Services. Detective Chen asked me to coordinate with you about placement for the Patterson children. Maya's throat went dry. Placement? Yes. We'll need to take custody of the children today. I understand this is difficult, but we have protocols. Ms. Wilkins, I need to tell you something important. These children are potential witnesses in a federal corruption case. What kind of corruption case? A parole officer has been grooming parolees to commit crimes. These children have direct evidence of that grooming. If they're placed in the system right now, that evidence could be lost. Ms. Rodriguez, I appreciate your concern, but Child Protective Services doesn't operate based on speculation. We have 3 orphaned children who need immediate placement. Then place them with me. You're not a licensed foster parent. You haven't been background checked, home studied. I'm a pediatric nurse with 12 years of experience. I've saved more children's lives than I can count. These kids trust me, they feel safe with me, and I can protect them. It doesn't work. That way Maya looked at Emma, who was listening to every word with growing panic in her eyes. Ms. Wilkins, give me 72 hours, 3 days to get emergency fosterage paperwork started, to let the corruption investigation develop, to let these kids process their grief before you uproot them again. I can't do that. Then I'll call my lawyer and have him file an emergency injunction. These children are traumatized witnesses in an active federal investigation. Any competent judge will order them to remain in protective custody with someone they trust. Maya was bluffing. She didn't have a lawyer, and she wasn't sure she could get an injunction. But her voice carried the authority of someone who'd fought insurance companies and hospital administrators and won. 72 hours, Janet Wilkins said finally. But Ms. Rodriguez, if anything happens to those children, nothing will happen to them. I promise you that. Maya hung up and looked at the clock. 8:45 a.m. Detective Chen would be here in 15 minutes. Kids, she said, I need you to be very honest with Detective Chen. Tell her everything about Sarah. Everything you remember. Don't be scared. Don't try to protect anyone. Just tell the truth. What about Derek's suicide note? Jake asked. Maya paused. What about it? Derek couldn't write. I mean, he could write his name and stuff, but he couldn't spell good. Mom always had to help him with paperwork. Maya's blood chilled. Are you sure? Yeah. He was embarrassed about it. He dropped out of school when he was like 12. But Emma saw his suicide note on the news this morning. It was like perfect spelling and everything. Maya grabbed her laptop and pulled up the local news website. There it was, a brief story about Derek Patterson's suicide, including a photo of his note. The handwriting was neat, precise. The spelling and grammar were perfect. Derek didn't write that note, Maya whispered. No, Emma said. And Derek wouldn't kill himself. He was scared of dying. He wouldn't even take aspirin because he was afraid of overdosing. Maya stared at the note on her screen. Someone had murdered Derek and made it look like suicide. Someone who wanted to make sure he couldn't testify about Sarah Martinez's corruption. That's Detective Chen, Maya said. Remember, tell her everything. Don't hold anything back. Maya opened the door to find a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense expression. Ms. Rodriguez, I'm Detective Chen. Please, come. The children are in the kitchen. As they walked through the house, Maya noticed Detective Chen taking in details the family photos, the medical journals, the children's drawings that had somehow appeared on her refrigerator overnight. "Nice house," Detective Chen said. "Must be difficult having your privacy invaded like this." It was. But things change. In the kitchen, Detective Chen introduced herself to the children. Maya was struck by how gentle her voice became, how she sat at their level, how she explained what would happen in terms they could understand. "I need to ask you some questions about your mom and about Derek. I know this is hard, but it's important." "Okay," the children nodded. Double quotes, "Emma, your mom was on parole. Do you remember her parole officer, Sarah Martinez? She was really interested?" "In our neighborhood? What do you mean?" For the next 30 minutes, Emma, Jake, and even Tyler shared everything they remembered about Sarah Martinez. The questions about Maya's schedule, the encouragement to commit property crimes, the photographs of their poverty, the manila folders full of information about other parolees. Detective Chen took notes steadily, her expression growing darker. With each revelation, "Jake, you said Derek couldn't write well. He could barely spell. Mom always had to help him with forms and stuff." Detective Chen showed them the suicide note on her phone. "Does this look like Derek's handwriting to you?" All three children shook their heads. "Derek didn't kill himself," Emma said firmly. "He was planning to take us to the zoo next weekend. He bought tickets and everything." Maya felt her heart breaking and hardening at the same time. These children had lost their mother to a heart attack brought on by stress and manipulation. Now someone had murdered the only father figure they had left. Detective Maya said, "I need to ask you something. Is Officer Martinez still on active duty?" "Why?" "Because his sister is the parole officer we're talking about. And if he's been helping cover up her activities." Detective Chen's expression shifted. "What makes you think Officer Martinez is involved?" "He didn't believe my story yesterday. He was suspicious, thorough, but he didn't follow up. He didn't dig deeper into Karen's background until after she was already dead. That's not good police work. That's deliberate negligence. Maybe. Or maybe his sister called him and told him to back off." Detective Chen closed her notebook. "Ms. Rodriguez, these are serious allegations you're making. I know they are. But these children are orphans because of those allegations. And if we don't stop Sarah Martinez, there will be more orphans. What do you want me to do?" Maya looked at the three children sitting at her table, eating cereal in her kitchen, trusting her to keep them safe. She thought about the lie she'd told Officer Martinez, the laws she'd bent, the lines she'd crossed. "I want you to investigate Sarah Martinez. I want you to look at her other parolees, her case files, her success rate at preventing recidivism. I want you to find out how many people she's manipulated into committing crimes, and in exchange, these children stay with me while you investigate. They stay together, they stay safe, and they help you build a case that could save other families from going through what they've been through." Detective Chen looked at Maya for a long moment. "You realize what you're asking for? You're asking me to place 3 traumatized children with someone who has no legal right. Them, based on a conspiracy theory about a parole officer. I'm asking you to protect 3 witnesses who have information